Good morning. It is Friday, July 26th, 2019, and this is a continuation of the Torturers Rehabilitation Report. And I will continue to do these until all torture, electromagnetic weapons and gassing has ceased coming from the directions of below the ground. Now I do understand that there'll be the occasional drone jockey that is going to hit me from above, and I won't put that on the bosses from below because I know that's out of their control. And I should say when these assaults cease, I will happily cease these reports, and I will delete all the reports referencing what has taken place below boards. The videos, it would be too arduous for me to go back and find every written report. So today's talk is going to be about the notion of existential freedom. And it's kind of riffing on the phrase that I captured from one of the Allies Below boards, the torture within versus the torture without. And, we all have our mentors, and a great one for me was Robin Williams. And there's been a few people that I've really felt I've channeled a song from after they had passed. One was Graham Parsons. And this song just popped into my mind soon after I heard that Robin Williams had passed. And the refrain is, "No, I'll never be small enough to fit in your world." And so getting at this issue another way, just getting back to months and months ago when it became clear what the intention was and the way that they were using these weapons to try to turn me into an enslaved prostitute, remote videoed prostitute for this underworld. And back then, there were a lot of different voices coming and going, a lot of banter, a lot of laughter, as if it were a gang of youths at a video arcade, having fun shooting at the video target. But as the months have gone on, and back then I was yelling a lot. I was in anger quite a lot. And trying to shame them out of what they were doing to me. But as the months have gone on, I've gotten quieter and quieter, and the voices below have gotten angrier and angrier, and more joyless, and less amused. And now it's pretty much all I hear is either rage or brooding misery from the holdouts who continue to assault me, and the grief-stricken pleadings of my allies to try to get them to move on. And even though in some ways the weaponry has changed, it is less surface disrupting, less rashing and bruising and wounds, but it's a deeper tissue assault where I fear everything from skin cancer to kidney failure to cancer of the lymph nodes, the lungs, brain damage, blindness, things of this nature, that if I were to die from them, it wouldn't at all be detectable that a weapon had brought this about. And so despite all that, I have remained remarkably strong during this siege, and I've become remarkably calm. I mean, I'm even amazed at how calm and peaceful I am all the time. And even though I endure incredible pain and have almost died in recent weeks with increasing frequency of that level of assault. I've just become very zen, and and the fact that I've been able to make a connection and build this alliance with so many of the kids beneath the floors, it has given me an incredible feeling of calmness and empowerment and just my humanity, and not tied to any outcome. It's like I don't fear death. I don't fear much anymore. I feared contracting something really horrible, so that like skin cancer or some bodily organ cancer that causes me to decline in a really horrific way where I'm rotting to death. that causes me concern, and and there specifically, it strikes me that there are fewer over the past 24 hours. Like maybe one or two of the stalwarts has decided to pause and assess, whether he wants to continue or not. But the remaining ones do seem to be aiming not to try to control me anymore, but they're specifically aiming at areas of my body to cause illness and cancer in lymph nodes, and hitting me in the chest, knowing that my heart is becoming weaker, and I'm having more irregular heartbeats. And so as I was reflecting on this morning, it's something that I've been suspecting, and it seems with ever greater clarity that this is what is taking place here. Is it's really no longer about them having this mafia business of trying to traffic me in particular as a prostitute, and try to torture me into breaking me into submission and obedience to whatever they want me to do. I think that they know that I'm not going to be broken that way. And what I'm hearing is with the bosses is they're either in a full-flown rage, cussing and just violently angry when they're not attacking me, and when they are attacking me, it's this deep, brooding, seething rage, and only occasionally interspersed with cuss words at me when I seem unmoved and unfazed as always. And in a company almost constantly now with an ally of mine sitting right next to them, just talking to them almost nonstop, in the patter of, when are you going to realize that she's never going to do what you want? Don't you see it's time to move on? You'll never get her to do what you want. Why are you continuing to do this to her? Just all sorts of languaging like that, to just keep trying to urge them to stop. And don't you know that this is a death sentence for her if you keep doing this? Don't you care that she might die? That kind of languaging. And they don't respond. They've just shut down for the most part any communication towards my allies, unless it's like a full-blown argument that mostly takes place in a adjacent room where I can't hear as much of what is being said. And so I think it's a truism that people who have deep-seated insecurity and fears want to keep others small and in their place, because just somebody trying to step beyond and seeming like they've gotten their act together internally in their heart minds, and they seem self-confident and forward-looking and want to expand in their world and their life. there are always people around them. Quite often, it's family who say in all sorts of ways and in all sorts of behaviors, "Who do you think you are? Get back into your smaller place." And so I think that is what is going on here. But because it's me who has really shown up in the world. I mean, people know me all over the world now for having stood up to these deep state shenanigans metastasizing in our nation over the past decade, and resonate with my thoughts and my writings and philosophies about how we can evolve into a better place. That I think is it can't be denied. I mean, they have been trying to deny it and just call me degrading names to depersonalize me and dehumanize me and just sort of wrench me off this sort of soul path that I've been on for so long, and just take it away and say it didn't matter, it never really existed in the first place, that kind of gaslighting stuff. And so at this point, I think that it really is, there's been all these different layers that I've been discussing in this report, but I think the fundamental layer is an actual existential perception of what it means to be human on Earth. And getting back to there's the torture without and the torture within, I think these guys are, I'll try to describe what I'm after here from a different angle. There's a lot of spiritual leaders and new thought coaches and enlightenment coaches that if you go on their teleseminars, they're talking a lot about this is an age of enlightenment where certain people are trying to experiment with new ways of approaching feelings and thought forms, and that there's actually different levels of energy that people are existing at now, depending on how awoken they are and tapping into this enlightenment. And there's an actual belief that those who are striving and being pioneers in this way, which I have tried to be, are actually lightening the energy of the planet. And then there's those that don't want to wake up because of whatever their fears and personally limiting thoughts that they're just trapped into, that are threatened by people trying to lighten the energy, and they see that as a threat. And so I really think that's what is going on here. And these guys are just locked into this brooding hatred and fear, and it's a weird sort of comforting place to be. And denial can be that way. It's a very dangerous trap that way if you want to have a happy, fulfilling life. And just to envision these guys just sitting there hour after hour after hour when they could be out in this beautiful summer weather doing anything that would be more helpful to their soul path than what they're doing here, just torturing and just trying to find a different way to cause suffering to a human being that they've never met and has never done anything to them. And so I think that they sense, in a way, even though on the surface, action going on here, that me locked in a fetal position, moving and shifting my hands and my body to avoid the weaponry doing me serious damage, that internally I'm at peace. And when I can get detox and go about my day as they've paused and are reloading, I can be even happy and I can laugh and I can talk philosophy, and I can try to see if there's some way I can help somebody else, and I can go out in my garden and just love the beauty of the flowers and enjoy watering the grass and sitting out in a lawn chair and reading a book or writing a poem or whatever. And I can be, it's not even like I'm instantly there when the torture stops. I'm there while the torture is going on. And it's almost become like a Zen martial arts practice for me, where there's the physical action of my hands and body moving around to protect myself, almost as if, someone were throwing javelins at me in a martial arts contest. And sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. And then I get up and I detox, and I'm back to center, physically, as I was centered all along. And I think that is actually true freedom. If you can have that internal sense of lightness and keeping love in your heart and keeping focused on the things that are beautiful in the world and wanting to make the path of others lighter, if you can, and help others be more empowered and happier. So given that, can you see where I'm going with this? And I think this is really, it's not a fight, but it is a calling for some of us on Earth. And remember, I talked about the butterfly effect, that really have made this commitment to lighten the energy of the Earth. And then there's those that are still locked down in fear. And I have to say, it's self-loathing and being in the comfort of that dusty, dark space, both literally and figuratively and spiritually. So I hope I'm right that one by one they're standing down and finding a way to free themselves from this trap that they put themselves in, for the greater hope and happiness of us all. All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Bye for now.